Now the combination of, now granted, it's greatness behind me and it's not here, although it is here, but it just reminds me of like wintergreen toothpaste and then immediately pounding orange juice. Why would anybody do that? Why would anybody suffer through that? That's what a lot of you are thinking about 40 seconds into these videos I do. Why the hell am I sitting here going through this madness? Well, we go 3-2 last night, so we'll take the plus night overall. And I mentioned on our final day here, as we have one more to get through, 6 days a week, 5-5 before we start the clock, we are 11-13-1 with an opportunity to finish, which we will, plus on the week. So thank you. Thumbs up, subscribe. Let's start the clock. And by starting the clock, we hit our first play. That's LeBron James behind us. Points, rebounds, assists. It doesn't matter how we get to 43. Let's just get to 43. Look, there's going to be an explosion. You can see 27.5 is where his points total currently resides for LeBron. We'll get to some other guys here in a second, but LeBron is going to impact this game. They are a tight favorite on the road. You are going to get a fight from the Pelicans, meaning I don't think you're going to see a blowout. You're not going to see LeBron, AD, these guys sit late because the Lakers are laughing as the Pelicans get ran out of their own building, mind you, for the 11th straight time in a row, suffering a loss. Here's the thing. The closer this game is, the more LeBron has his hands over everything. We're not just going to slam the point to, oh, yeah, he's got a 35, 63 points. Can he get to 70 tonight? Break that. We're not even focused on that. The one thing we're looking at is just broad impact on the basketball game, and we begin with LeBron James over 42.5. Next play is Kawhi Leonard over 25.5 points. Check out the NBA parlay video. We do enjoy talking a little bit in depth about this game from the Knicks standpoint. I think from the Clippers standpoint, it's pretty simple. In order to stay in this basketball game, the Knicks are super streaky. And when they're knocking down shots, especially if Jalen Brunson is playing through this illness, questionable at the time this morning in which we're doing it, I would strongly suggest taking this, not even as a hedge so much as just a component to a higher scoring game in which really the main way in the LA Clippers staying in on that. So we go Kawhi Leonard over 25.5 points for the Clippers. And again, that's their main vehicle. Paul George, others are going to have to step up, but it's going to be Kawhi Leonard as the big vehicle here. All right, next play is Giannis over 51.5. This is another approach, the broad approach that we just applied to LeBron James here. Big basketball game for the Milwaukee Bucks. They've won a handful in a row, in case you're new here. 6 straight, right? Here come the Heat, who are playing really good basketball, and there's an expectation that this is going to be a slugfest, that you're going to see one of these old-time Bernard Hopkins. But yes, I know it's all Philly here. I can't get it out of my head with the Eagles in the Super Bowl. Some sort of grappling match here. Save that shit for the Eastern Conference, all right? Playoffs, finals, whenever these two teams meet. Not in a mid or early February basketball game. So this is more of a cruise fest. I think you're going to see a higher scoring game. I don't also think you're going to see a blowout, despite this being a 6-point spread. Check the parlay video out on that one. Love where the Bucks are and how they've been playing. They're the rich person's version of what we saw with the Wizards, except their streak isn't going to get snapped. Giannis is going to have a ton of boards, and he can get
right, Stokastic, here we go. It's your old pal EMac back in the saddle again. It's been a couple weeks. Had a nice little trip down there to Costa Rica. Got to see 6 cities in 7 days. It was a lot of fun, hiking and running, race running through the mud, the swamps, the volcano, caldera. It was a good time there, Adam. How's Baltimore? Baltimore's just about as exotic as Costa Rica, right?
Yeah. It's cold. Went to get coffee today. That was not enjoyable, but other than that, it's good.
Yeah, it's been rather frigid here. I have a blanket next to me. I've been wearing. I didn't want to wear the hat on the show because I figured I'd look relatively ridiculous looking like this, but I've been wearing that because it's cold in the house. So yeah, not fun. But we've got basketball here to warm us up as we get ready for Super Bowl coming up in a week. So we've got a little time there. This weekend is going to be NBA. We've got college basketball, and then of course MMA tonight. We have the MMA Live Before Lock show coming up at 1 o'clock today. Yes, that fight does not lock until 10 o'clock tonight, or the card in any event. But nothing's really going to change unless there's always the random scratch, which happens no matter when we do a show with MMA. So
yeah, most importantly, no late swap.
No, oh, that's right. They did move back. DraftKings wanted to thank everybody for all of their feedback. I think they were talking to their internal team that kept screwing up the locks of the fights, thanking them for making the decision easy to retroactively go back to no late swap. It wouldn't have changed what I did anyway because I don't play a ton on that, but I prefer everything just locking at once for MMA.
Yeah, I just stopped playing. Like it's late swap in other sports is fine. Like, but with MMA, you were very, very clearly putting yourself at a disadvantage if you weren't going to sit at your computer and re-optimize your lineups based on all the information that you were getting after every fight. Like basketball, you can get away with, as long as there's not like a major injury, you can get away if you don't want to like just late swap all of your lineups at every lock, just for the sake of doing it. Like you'll miss out on some min cashes, but who really cares? But for MMA, like you were just putting yourself at a huge disadvantage. So I had just stopped playing.
Yeah, and that makes sense. And part of it was with the rolling lock and there's no particular set time between the fights, and some can happen and quickly and all that stuff. You're doing so much of a guessing game on top of it to get that advantage. Seems like too much work. So for me, I didn't care. I still played, but just wasn't worried about it. But glad they're going back to that. But let's talk a little basketball today. We, of course, are brought to you by PrizePicks. Sorry, but I haven't done a PrizePicks show in a gazillion years. I play PrizePicks almost every day. One of my favorite DFS sites to play. No sharks, no optimizers. It's you versus their player props that they put up there. And at any given time, they essentially have 14 different sports up there. Any sport you can think of, it's probably up there, along with first half NBA, second half NBA. Same with football. You can build same game parlay cards there. You put 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 questions in, go 6 for 6. You get 25x. You miss one, you still get if you're playing the flexes, you still double up your money. It's a pretty good deal there. Check them out. They'll get you a $100 deposit match on the first deposit, as well as 30 days of Stokastic premium content. We'll talk a little bit more about them. Hat tip there to Uncle JB. Said he turned $5 into $1,500 last night. Very solid move there. How did you feel about the late swaps there? Did you react to the Mo Bamba, Franz Wagner switcheroo?
Mo Wagner, you mean?
Mo Wagner, yes.
Sorry,
Franz.
Yeah, so we got Carter scratched like 10 minutes before lock, so I missed that starting lineup coming out. So I had just crunched with Mo Wagner starting, and then I realized that Bamba was starting. So after the 7 o'clock lock, I just swapped stuff around. But Bamba was my highest owned guy. When he got ejected, I was like, he did well enough. It probably won't matter. And I knew I had a good team that had Mo Wagner in $15. So I was like, maybe I'll get really lucky. Turns out I probably would have won the $4 if Bamba didn't get ejected. So my hot streak continues.
Yes, sometimes that does happen. I think I ended up with Bamba I've been playing more on FanDuel now. I've moved my NBA. I still like the showdowns on DK, but I've moved the main slate stuff over to FanDuel. So I've been playing that. They have a 20 or 25 max. It vacillates every few days at the 222, and they usually launch $2.22, not 222. Let's not pretend that I'm throwing around that kind of money, but they usually launch 2 of those. So I get a couple $100 down there, and it's fun. I had a Mo Bamba team. I think finished 14th or 18th, wherever it was. It was like $75. I would have had a chance to get a couple hundred if that had come through, but it's a lot of fun.
I finished 7th in the $4, 10 points out of first. Nobody ahead had Bamba. So I really just want to know what he said. Like, at least entertain me with what got that reaction from Markelle Fultz, because I would love to know.
We shall see. I'm sure it will come out. But let's slide on in here. We do have 7 games on our slate. We're going to start off with the main slate. That's all we're going to do is the main slate. If you want to get the 2 earlier games, you can check that out on Stokastic. We have projections. We have all the tools, all the content, everything for that. You can check them out behind the paywall there. Let's see. Let's start off with some high-level stuff, Adam. 2 teams playing today, play tomorrow. 6 teams on the main slate today were on second leg of back-to-backs that having played last night. And question marks and injuries abound here. So we're going to we'll caveat a few of our analyses here as we go through the different games. But the first one up is the Phoenix Suns -4.5 at the Detroit Pistons, 226 implied point total here. We've got Phoenix going to be without Devin Booker, Cameron Payne, and Landry Shamet. You've got Cameron Johnson did not play last night. The Suns actually won in Boston, 106-94. So this is a 3 and a 4 and a back-to-back for them. They had planned to give Cam Johnson the night off yesterday, thinking this was a more winnable game. They got it last night, so they have a chance playing with house money here, so he should return. And then on the Detroit side, obviously Cade Cunningham out with that shin injury, Marvin Bagley perpetually injured, and then you've got Corey Joseph, questionable, dealing with the sore back. Also a 3 and 4 here for Detroit. They beat Charlotte last night, 118-112. I'm turning this one over to you, Adam. What do you like in here from the Phoenix? Is old man Chris Paul going to have some fun tonight?
Yeah, I mean, we obviously need an actual injury report here from Phoenix to make sure that nobody's resting. But assuming that they're not resting guys and that Cameron Johnson is back, Chris Paul's still going to look like a solid option. Had a good game last night, or at least was having a good game. I don't know where he finished up. But right now we have him projected for 4% ownership. I'm assuming that's because we don't know if he's going to rest or not. 10% chance of being optimal, so I would expect his ownership to actually come in around there. But still 8,500. Playing big minutes, playing well outside of that 1 game 2 games ago. So if he plays, he's going to look good. Ayton looks good at 7,600, pulling about 20% ownership. You get a usage bump for him with no Devin Booker. You get a nice matchup here against Detroit, so I like getting there. Beyond that, nothing that really stands out. You know, Mikal Bridges plays huge minutes, but he's also up to $7,200. So if you get to him some shooting guard, small forward, that's obviously fine, just based on the playing time. But price tag pretty much where it should be. Cameron Johnson is really, really difficult to know what they're doing with him. I talked about this a little bit yesterday in my NBA Bet Pro video because he was showing up as a good bet at the time. When he came back from his injury, they didn't wait too long to ramp him up and get him up to like 30 plus minutes. But then in the last couple of games he played like 15 minutes in a blowout and 18 minutes in a blowout. But in the most recent game, he was playing like 5-minute stints. And Monty Williams talked after that game and said that they were intentionally doing that to limit his playing time because they thought that they had ramped him up a little bit too quickly coming back from his injury. But then he followed that up by saying he also thought that approach made it so Cameron Johnson couldn't get in any sort of a rhythm. So I have no idea going into today, are they going to say screw his rhythm or screw his body and play him a bunch of minutes? I don't know how they're going to handle this, but it certainly makes him a very risky option. If you guaranteed that he played 30 minutes tonight or even would be allowed to play 30 minutes, I would like him at no ownership at 5,400. The concern I have is just like, is the plan today to play him 24 minutes, in which case I wouldn't want any part of it.
Yeah, and that makes sense. You live and die with the NBA game rotational game logs. I know you listen to a lot of the post game pressers, pre game pressers, interviews, etc. Oh, you don't? Where do you steal all your info from here?
Twitter.
The old Twitter sphere. You Adam's like the most honest person in here. You should have said, "Oh, I watch hours and hours of this stuff."
No, because then that's how you get stuck doing preseason NBA content, is you say you enjoy that stuff.
Savvy move by Adam. I remember back in the day you did all the preseason stuff.
Yeah, so do I. That was not fun. No, I mean, like, in all honesty, that is actually probably a weak part of my game, is I don't watch it and I don't pay enough attention. But I did happen to see Suns beat writers tweeting about what Monty Williams said about Cam Johnson.
Gotcha. The one other thing that's been rather interesting, I think, is DeAndre Ayton has actually picked up his scoring. He's someone that you're always worried, because rarely was he taking more than 10, 12 field goal attempts. However, in his last 15 or so games, somewhat coinciding with Devin Booker being out, he's had, I'm going reverse chronological order, 13, 12, 17, 20, 20, 20, 11. That's more typical of him. 18, 16, 20, 12. That's one of the wagers you can look for out there. It's starting to catch up, but his points overs have been hitting with some regularity, because the models and everything are catching up to sort of his new approach to the game. So he's somewhat interesting. He's $28 over there on Yahoo. I do like playing on Yahoo with my one lineup per day. So I've got my eye on him over there. Anything else you want to mention here from the Suns?
Just to reiterate on Ayton, 28% usage rate this year with no Devin Booker on the floor, 1.2 DraftKings points per minute.
All right, let's head on over here to Detroit. Sort of feels like they're going to rest somebody, maybe. We haven't quite gotten into the complete shenanigans here with Detroit. It does help that they have Marvin Bagley out, Cunningham out, etc., but they still have a cast of thousands here. Alec Burks had looked pretty good in the last few games. We've seen Bojan Bogdanovic continue to be a solid scorer. At some likely he will end up on another team or a contender here, despite signing that contract. What are you thinking here from the Pistons, assuming that the only people missing tonight are Joseph Bagley and, of course, Cunningham?
Yeah, so assuming that we have the same guys playing tonight that we did last night, and that they're not resting anybody, we did get that starting lineup change one of the starting lineup changes that I've been waiting for. Isaiah Stewart moved into the starting lineup yesterday. Not only is that good for Isaiah Stewart, who remains $4,600 and is going to look good, assuming that he starts again, it's good for Jalen Duren, because instead of getting 48 minutes split between the two of them without them playing alongside each other, now you're getting still 48 center minutes, but then also Stewart playing alongside him. So you got 33 minutes from Jalen Duren yesterday, in addition to the 28 from Isaiah Stewart. With the previous rotation, if you got 33 minutes from Duren, that meant 15 from Stewart. So you got an additional 13 minutes or so from those guys. It makes them both look better, not just Stewart, with Stewart starting. So I like $5,400 Duren. I like $4,600 Stewart, assuming that they go with the same lineup. Beyond that, you have $5,100 Alec Burks, who was relatively disappointing yesterday, played 26 minutes. You got 24 from Killian Hayes. So you continue to see them basically split 48 minutes with, playing a couple of minutes alongside each other. It makes them both look okay. Burks pulling 6%, Hayes at 5,200 pulling 1%. I think it's likely that you once again get around 26 from Burks, 24 from Hayes. Neither one's going to look great. You get a nice ceiling from Bogdanovic and Jaden Ivey, who had a massive game last night, but they're also correctly priced. So from a priority standpoint, I think for me, it's the front court, Stewart and Duren, assuming that Stewart remains in the starting lineup.
All right. Yeah. Beef Stew hooked me up yesterday on FanDuel. Power forward, center eligibility. I ended up with almost 40% of him. I think the field was around 13 or 14. At least they were in that 20 max contest. So that was enjoyable. If the chips fall that way again, I'm okay with it. But he did get by. What did he end up with, Adam? 15 rebounds or something crazy like that. It was we got a little lucky, I think, with Beef Stew. I do have a question in chat here. Since this is the NBA strategy show, Adam, maybe we can get your just a quick little take on this. This is from Jenna Sandy. They say, I'm really wondering about DFS ownership lately. My entire lineup last night was low owned, yet it scored the same as chalky lineups. I don't understand what you gain by playing low owned players. To tee Adam up, 1, don't take it off a single game sample size. 2, you hope for somebody to die on the vine, similar to Davion Mitchell last night, who was 33% owned there on FanDuel. But how would you answer that question there?
Yeah, I mean, it's not like you gain anything by playing low-owned players, in the sense that it's not that they're not likely to score more. The idea is just that when things go your way, you're competing with less people than otherwise. Like using the Davion Mitchell for play, for example, where he was like 40% owned. If you didn't have Davion Mitchell, you're just immediately better than 40% of the field with your lineups. If you do have Davion Mitchell and he does well, you're still competing with nearly half the field that also has him doing well. So there's no like inherent benefit to playing lower owned players. Typically higher owned players are going to score better because that's why they're high owned, is they're the best projected plays. But there's no inherent advantage. It's just a matter of using low owned players to give yourself a way to sort of leapfrog the field in specific lineups.
Alrighty, let's move on to our next game here. Los Angeles Clippers favored by a bucket in New York, taking on the Knicks. 223 implied point total here. For the Clippers, you've got John Wall is the only player who's out at this point. Clippers have they're 6-2, but they've lost 2 of their last 3. 9 of their last 10 have been on the road. So that's they're kind of the road warriors at this point. They wrap up this road trip in Brooklyn Monday. So they've got the back-to-back games here in the Big Apple. On the other side, the Knicks are going to be without Mitchell Robinson. Yet again, you've got Jalen Brunson, who is questionable with a non-COVID related illness. The Knicks do play tomorrow against Philadelphia. Take us through the Clippers here. And is Kawhi back, or at least as back as he's going to get 3 years later after dealing with his recent injuries?
Yeah, I think so. He's been playing better recently. Usage is up. Like if you look, somebody asked on the deeper dive yesterday about using full season stats at this point, or if you prefer looking at the last 30 days. Mm-hmm. And Kawhi is someone where I do keep an eye on sort of the last 30 days, because if you just look at his full season numbers, he hasn't played that many games. He hasn't played that many minutes. So you're getting a decent percentage of his full season production coming from when he was really rusty and, coming off the bench and playing 18 minutes or whatever it was when he first came back. If you look at his last 30 days, usage is up, production is up, certainly looking like a quality, DFS player again. And he's playing huge minutes. He's, played 40 minutes again last game. You're just consistently getting like 38 plus from him at this point. The biggest hurdle to getting to Kawhi right now, though, is that Paul George just keeps being like $800 to $1,000 less expensive, playing similar minutes, giving you similar production, better positional eligibility with shooting guard, small forward on DraftKings. So, Kawhi's fine if you can get there, but you can kind of just get Kawhi for $800 less by going to Paul George.
Right. Aside from their 2 stalwarts there, is there anybody else you would consider from the Clippers? Perhaps Zubac here, maybe a Storm and Norman Powell. What else do we have? Yeah,
Zubac, anybody that watches these shows knows that I'm willing to play Zubac. He's not as good a point per minute guy when George and Kawhi both play, but he's still around 0.85, 0.6 DraftKings points per minute. You can get around 30 minutes from him. He's cheap and not popular, so I'm always fine with that at low ownership in tournaments. The one interesting thing from last game is that we did get 32 minutes from a $4,600 Marcus Morris. You're not always going to get that many minutes, but it was a good sign. I think that from a projection standpoint, I'd expected more around like 27, 28 from him. So seeing him get to 32 is good. I think you probably project around 30 here. Not a great play or anything, but he is only 3 or 4% owned at 4,600. But with even just from the games we talked about right now, if Marcus Morris is going to be 4% owned and Isaiah Stewart's going to be 7, I would just play more Isaiah Stewart.
All right. All you had to say is remember me game for Marcus Morris. That would just solved all the. We don't need analysis. We don't need actual planning. Adam, no strategy. Just. So remember me game. He's familiar with the shooting background in Madison Square Garden. That's the other way of saying it. Let's move on over here to the Knicks. It looks like a single-digit popularity on most of the sites. You are getting Julius Randle up to looks like 12.5% on FanDuel. He's got power forward, center eligibility there. He's got same eligibility there on DraftKings, but he is at 5 figures, $10,000 even, coming in just at 5% there. How are you feeling about Julius Randle? Maybe an RJ Barrett, perhaps an Isaiah Hartenstein, also in a Remember Me game? Like, hey guys, remember me? We went to the playoffs together. That was fun.
Yeah. So, with the Knicks, obviously the Brunson news is huge. If he is in, then it takes some value away from several guys. Randle doesn't look as good. Barrett doesn't look as good. Quickly doesn't look as good. But and Brunson himself at 8,600 is fine. Like, he's going to play big minutes, but he's also expensive now. So if Brunson's in, I don't think there's really much to like at all from this team, unless you just want to roll the dice on like a $6,300 RJ Barrett, or hope that Isaiah Hartenstein once again plays, 30 or 40 minutes off the bench. I don't think you can count on that, but we have seen him close 2 games in a row. If you want to gamble on those guys, fine. They're cheap enough. But if Brunson's back, not only do you lose production for RJ Barrett, it also opens the door to him not playing as many minutes again, because he played 41 minutes last game, but keep in mind, prior to that, you had seen him down around 30 31 minutes because Emmanuel Quickly's been playing so many minutes in the fourth quarter. Barrett hasn't even necessarily been closing games, so he becomes really risky in that regard as well. But if Brunson's out, this team actually looks good. You get increased production for Julius Randle, you get increased production for Barrett and increased playing time for Barrett. You get a bunch more playing time for Emmanuel Quickly, who started and played 37 minutes. As a reminder, he's not nearly as good when Julius Randle's on the floor, but when you put Randle on and take Brunson off, Quickly still, good enough that he's a good play for 36, 37 minutes at his price tag. So if he is starting in place of Brunson, certainly interested there. Brunson's status doesn't change the center roulette. If you want to gamble on Hartenstein, fine. Just realize that a lot of times he's going to play 20 to 21 minutes.
Alrighty. We are watching, you are watching the Stokastic NBA strategy show here, brought to you by PrizePicks. Reminder, we do have 2 more live shows today, brought to you by PrizePicks as well. At 1 o'clock, you're going to get the MMA show. And then at 6 o'clock, you're going to get NBA live before a lock. That will go with an extra 30 minutes there, which will get plenty of time for us to talk about PrizePicks and some recommended plays over there. We'll throw out a couple here in just a moment on our show. But I see we got about 400 watching, just 53 likes. Come on, Adam had to get up early, do a show with me today. Get some more likes up there. We should easily get up to 100. That's just to pay Adam off for having to deal with me on a morning. It looks like you're bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, Adam. No hangover. What the heck's going on? What prevented you from going out to a bar last night?
PTSD from all of our Saturday shows years ago.
Good answer. Good answer. All righty, let's continue on. You could have used a drink after watching the Portland Trail Blazers come back from a 20-point deficit last night against your Washington Wizards, Adam. I did take the money line on Portland. I got 10-1 and 11-1. That was kind of fun. So I got to profit from the Wizards collapsing. The Wizards had won 6 in a row, so hat tip to them. I guess that postponed game must have thrown a wrinkle into them. But this is Portland on the road again. It's a 3-4 for them. They did beat Washington 124-116 last night. They're heading into Chicago now. They will be without Justice Winslow and Yusuf Nurkic. And then Gary Payton II is questionable. That's really not going to move the needle a whole lot. On the Chicago side, they are perpetually without Green, but they do have a couple questionable people that are key. You've got Alex Caruso dealing with a sore foot. I think he only played like 7 or 8 minutes in his last game. You've got Pat Williams dealing with an ankle issue, and then Vucevic popped up on the injury report with a sore quad here. How are you looking at this one? Can it be Dame time 2 nights in a row?
Well, it wasn't last night, so
was good enough. Was close enough.
He was terrible last night.
He was on my best lineup.
Like 42 DraftKings points.
Last night the scores were not overly high.
Yes,
I mean, like, the teams that won, but a lot of people are saying, oh, this, that, and the chalk and this, that. Most of my DK lineups topped out around 260.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. I mean, it's not going to be a high scoring night when Davion Mitchell scores 5, Drew Eubanks scores like 17. But I mean, Dame scores 42 at 25%. But yeah, assuming, again, like, we don't know who's playing for Portland today, but assuming we get the same guys as yesterday, Nurkic out, and then everything else the same, Dame does look good. You can't read too much into him not playing well yesterday. It happens, but you get a good matchup here. He did, I think, at some point in yesterday's game, roll his ankle. So keep an eye on that as well. I know he was limping around for a little bit, as was Bradley Beal, but assuming that he goes,
Beal looked pretty dinged up there with like the last 3 minutes of the game. They called that timeout with about 4 minutes to go, and then the rest of the game he was in there, he was definitely dinged up.
I think Beal was more banged up than Dame was. But yeah, so assuming Dame plays, 10-6 looks good. Good matchup. no issues getting there. It's a relatively expensive price tag, but he's pulling 14% ownership right now. Drew Eubanks pulling 12% at 3,600. Trendon Watford pulling 21% at 3K. That's really, really interesting to me. In the last 2 games that Nurkic has missed, you've gotten 26 minutes from Watford, and then yesterday you got 29.5. I don't totally buy that, though. 2 games ago was just, a weird rotation. Watford played well. He closed the game over Eubanks. He got, a legitimate 26 minutes. Yesterday, you had 4 fouls for Eubanks. He picked up his 4th with 6 minutes and 25 seconds to go in the third quarter, went to the bench. Watford came in, played really well, played like the entire fourth quarter. So that wasn't a situation where they were necessarily playing him over Eubanks so much as they were forced to. But him playing well, him earning minutes in these situations does certainly make it so instead of, earlier in the year, you probably would have said like, all right, 28, 29 minutes for Eubanks, 19, 20 for Watford. I think it's a lot more reasonable to go like 26 Eubanks, 22 Watford, 25 Eubanks, 23 Watford, something like that. And you do have the power forward eligibility at 3K flat for Watford. So it's a tricky spot because I think Watford's a good play. I just don't think he's that good of a play at 20% owned. But at the same time, he's 3K flat. Even if he plays like 18 to 20 minutes, he's probably not going to totally kill you. And if he plays more, he can very easily be somebody you need. So it's a really tricky spot there. I wouldn't play Eubanks and Watford together since they're not likely to share the floor, but that front court creates a really interesting situation. Then you get to the Anthony Simons, Jeremy Grant, Josh Hart pieces. They're all sort of just last guys in. They all look pretty much correctly priced. Anthony Simons had a massive game yesterday. Jeremy Grant did nothing. I had a ton of Jeremy Grant, not a lot of Anthony Simons. That's how things go. But they're both clearly secondary options with Dame playing. If Dame were to be out, they're both going to look a lot better. But also with Nurkic out, you do get increased usage for all of these guys, or at least, the opportunity for ceiling games more frequently. So still very, very solid secondary options from those 3.
Yeah, I should say that Anthony helped out my Damian Lillard team that I was referring to. 9 of 12 from 3 last night for him. I believe they said on the telecast, I didn't go look it up, but I think they said Anthony is 3rd in made 3-pointers this season, which
really?
is pretty impressive.
Not have guessed that.
Kind of, yeah.
I knew he was playing well this year.
Yeah, it's like, but with all those people taking shots, he's 3rd or whatever it was, unless they caveated it with
38% from 3, 69th percentile in 3-point percentage. 87th percentile in offensive EPM this year.
It's been impressive. He is the younger, cheaper version of CJ McCollum there. So there we go. Juicebox says, hey, EMac, always read your DFS content. You help tremendously. Appreciate the input and work you put behind these projections. I got to give the projections aren't me, but I do interpret them. So that is kind of fun. You can check out the DFS building blocks article that is free on the Stokastic homepage every day. Adam's been putting up his tournament thoughts. Is that an everyday or is that a weekday feature that you have there?
It is weekdays.
There we go. And of course, you're getting the view into Adam's mind right now with how we're reading the slate without knowing the rest of the injury updates here. But this is the DFS strategy show. So if you guys have some questions, feel free to ask them, ladies as well. And shout out there to T McBee. I see him in the chat. Anything else you have for us from Portland? If not, do you think Vooch is going to play tonight?
No idea if Vooch plays, but that is all that I have from Portland.
All right, talk to us about the Zach attack there, potentially on the trading block. Apparently, the Lakers fans want him. I don't know that the Bulls are going to trade him, but Lakers fans are somewhat interested here. You've got the 3-headed monster there of Levine, Vooch, and DeRozan. If there is a chance that Vooch is out with that sore quad,
Vooch is probable, by the way.
He is probable. Okay, thank you.
Williams and Caruso are questionable.
Okay. At 5:30 this morning when I was doing the run sheet, yes, because I get up at the crack of dawn, we didn't have that particular information there. So I had not updated that. Take us through the Bulls here, Adam.
So the Patrick Williams and Alex Caruso pieces are important, even though neither one's a great fantasy producer. It would just open up a lot of minutes if those guys are out. But assuming that they're in, it's kind of just what we've been getting with the Bulls. DeRozan, Vooch, Levine obviously dominate a ton of production with this team. We've been getting a lot of playing time from Vooch recently. He did only play 33 minutes last game. They went to Andre Drummond as the backup center. We hadn't seen that hadn't been the case in a while. They went back to him. It doesn't seem like a game that they would go to him. It seems like they'd be more likely to go to Derek Jones against a, Trendon Watford backup center. So I think that's probably a good sign for Vooch's minutes. I think projecting 35, 36 minutes for him makes sense. Over his last 10 games, he still averaged around 36 minutes per game. Really, really good point per minute guy. Very, very high ceiling. 9K, there's obviously some risk there, but only pulling 7% ownership. 10% coming into Levine, shooting guard, small forward at 8,200. He played 36 minutes last game. You're typically getting 36, 37 from him. DeRozan at 8,800. Kind of surprised he's pulling the most ownership of the three, because I think he's actually the most difficult to get to. He doesn't project quite as well as Vooch. He's not quite as good of value and doesn't have quite as good positional flexibility as Levine. So to me, DeRozan's actually the most difficult to get to, but I still think he's a good play, as he always is. You're likely getting 36, 37 minutes from him as well. So I would say none of the main three here are priorities in the context of the slate, but they all just look like good secondary options that aren't going to be that popular and certainly give you high ceilings. Williams, if he's is in that like Josh Hart category, but probably a little bit behind Josh Hart, just like a 5K forward that you can use as the last piece into your lineup to be contrarian if you need to. If Caruso's out, you probably get more playing time from Kobe White at 3,700, probably get some more minutes from Goran Dragic, who has barely been in the rotation recently. He did play 14 minutes last game. White played 26 and a half. Caruso didn't play at all in the second half of that game. So I think it's likely, like I said, you're going to see a little bit more White, a little bit more Dragic if Caruso is out. It wouldn't make either of them look like priorities, because we know that as long as the main three guys are in, Kobe White's role is not to go out there and chuck, but more minutes for him at 3,700, more minutes for Dragic at 3,200 certainly makes them at least somewhat interesting if Caruso's out.
Yeah, and if I haven't gone to see what the showdown contests are, but that's where you would start looking for someone like Dragic, or in the evening slate, the 8 o'clock only games. He kind of pops up there if Caruso is out.
Dosunmu also probably plays more. He's 4,200 and he's Ayo Dosunmu, so I wouldn't get too excited about that. But if Caruso's out, it is a benefit for him as well.
All right. See, Ron says I'm looking young today. Oh wait, no, I look old like him. Well, I did go to bed I made it to halftime of a Friday game. That's my usual goal. Except those games usually start at 10:30 on Fridays, Adam, not 9 o'clock. Last night I was asleep by about 10:20. So that's why I was up at before 5 today. And somebody says, you were up before 5. I don't believe you. I was sending messages to Spags and Terry, T. McBee, and Nolan, and a bunch of back office stuff. So yeah, it was a busy morning here.
Were any of them awake, or were you just like mass DMing them while they slept?
No, I was catching up on some things I needed to give them answers for.
Got it.
So, because I have a regular day job during the week, so I needed to catch up with some questions they had from Thursday and Friday. So, but yes, it is fun. It is a lot of fun. Anything else from this game here?
No.
Alrighty, that moves us on kind of to the, shall we call it the halfway point here. We are on game 4. That is going to be the Houston Rockets at the Oklahoma City Thunder. Rockets played last night. They lost 117-111 in Houston. They lost to the Raptors. We've got Kevin Porter Jr. still out with a foot injury. Eric Gordon almost assuredly going to rest today. Jayshawn Tate has not really been playing in back-to-backs. He's doubtful as a likely rest candidate. And then I haven't seen any update. Adam, you may have it on Green, but he's missed the last 3 games with a calf injury. This is a 3 and 4 as well as a back-to-back for them. OKC on the other side will be without Lugens Dort, Aleksej Pokusevski, and James Robinson-Earl. They last played on Wednesday when they lost to this same Rockets team in Houston. I'm really liking SGA today. That kind of goes without saying. What do you got from this game for us here? Start off with the Rockets.
Yeah, so the Jalen Green news is huge. The quote from Steven Silas was that his fingers are crossed that he will be able to play today. I don't know what that means. If he comes back and is not going to be limited, I like him at 7,500 in this spot. If he's going to be limited, obviously that's a problem. But with no Kevin Porter Jr., you certainly get increased opportunities from Jalen Green. He's not pulling a ton of ownership, probably in part because he's questionable. But I would like the upside that you get from him. If he's out, you have the offense once again running through Alperen Şengün, who is expensive now and difficult to get to, but it would give him a very high ceiling. But you would also just start getting a lot of cheap Rockets you can get to as well. Josh Christopher at 3,200, Dash and Knicks at 3,700. They both would look pretty good. Right now we have Christopher pulling 41% ownership. He only played 19 minutes off the bench yesterday, but now you don't have Eric Gordon and you don't have Jayshawn Tate. So one way or the other, you're likely to get a bunch of minutes from Josh Christopher. If Jalen Green is out, those minutes are even more secure. So I think he looks like a good play regardless. Knicks looks fine, but he'll look better if Green is out. Jabari Smith at 5,600. He gets a bump without Porter Jr. or Green on the floor. If Green's back, it does hurt Smith a little bit. But if he's out, I still like getting the Green as a contrarian play. You know, you're never going to be that confident in him, but he is typically going to give you around 30 minutes. So at low ownership, that's fine. But we really need that Jalen Green news, because if he's out, it opens up even more here.
Yeah, the Sengun's kind of interesting. Keep an eye on his props. We had recommended taking the under on his assist props yesterday, and that came to fruition. Some of his trending rates are pretty good for Sengun, especially with everybody out, but it's a lot to ask. I think yesterday they were 6.5 on PrizePicks, if I remember correctly, or maybe it was 5.5. But see where that lands today and look for the under. If it ends up being 5.5 or anything above that, take the under would be the recommendation. Anything else here from Houston?
Jabari Smith was questionable yesterday. If he doesn't, just the normal, if Jabari Smith plays, leave Tari Eason alone. If Jabari Smith sits, play a lot of Tari Eason.
All right. How would you compare Dayshawn Nix to Davion Mitchell from a fantasy perspective?
That's a good one. He's better than Mitchell. Not by a lot.
Not by a lot. The salary's ticking up, but yeah, they're both pretty scary. But what are they both, like 0.67 fantasy?
Yeah, Nix is at 0.7 DraftKings points per minute without Porter on the floor this year. Mitchell, I think, with Sabonis on and Fox off, was like 0.62, 0.63. But he was also playing Indiana, so that makes it look better. Yeah, I mean, they're similar. The big difference, though, would be that right now, Knicks is projected for 9% ownership. Granted, if Green's out, that probably comes up a little bit. But I just wouldn't want either of them if they're going to be 40% owned. That was the whole thing with Mitchell yesterday. Like, Mitchell was a good play if he was like 15 or 20%.
Yeah, and again, we're talking tournaments here. In cash game lineups, go for the block, take the obvious guys, and just hope to beat your opponents elsewhere. That makes sense. I'd hate to lose on a good Davion Mitchell night in a cash game, but yeah, tournaments was a little bit messy there. Over on the Thunder, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander stands out on all three sites. He's one of my favorite plays of the day, but it gets real tepid after that. Everybody's salaries are kind of where they ought to be, even with a solid matchup here. Houston has won the first two games, and going from memory, when I was looking at the series, I think the team scored around 220 points in each of the first two games. They're going to be closer to 230 tonight. That makes more sense. Everybody seems appropriately priced. Plus, you have the variability of Mark Dagnall and his god-awful rotations. Do you want to venture any tepid recommendations for the Thunder?
So starting with SGA, I like him again. He's been relatively disappointing the last couple of games when I've really liked him, but I'm not even really taking negatives away from that. Like, he got 50.5 DraftKings points against Golden State. He got 45.5 against Houston. Obviously not what you're looking for. He shot 10 for 24 against Golden State. He shot 7 for 23 against Houston. The usage is there, and you expect some increased usage with Dort out as well. He just had back-to-back inefficient games, which isn't normal for him. So the minutes are there, the usage is there, the opportunities are there. I'm happy he's going right back to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander here. Hopefully he makes shots at a normal rate as opposed to the last couple of games. Other than that, 7,800 for Giddey looks fine. He's pulling 9% ownership. You get a nice ceiling from him. It's just that, typically you're getting 30 to 32 minutes as opposed to the 35 or 36 that you get from SGA. But last game you got 38 from Giddey. So it's nice to know that those minutes are there sometimes. The ceiling is certainly there. You're getting plenty of playing time from Jalen Williams, typically getting 30 to 34 minutes. Jalen Williams minus the Y, but he's 5,500 and not super productive when SGA and Giddey are in. We have no idea what the starting lineup's going to be. If Jalen Williams with a Y starts, he still only played 12.5 minutes last game. If you want to gamble on him and hope he gets like 16 or 18 if he's starting, then Sure. At 1% ownership, it's not the craziest thing, but also not something I would really want to do. Isaiah Joe, 3,900, whether he starts or not, projects for around 21, 22 minutes. If he plays well, certainly can get more. We saw 26 off the bench 2 games ago, followed by 20 and a half as a starter for 1/2 last game. So, yeah, I mean, keep in mind that, so we've seen the 2 games without Dort now. Wiggins started the first one, and then I think somebody started.
I think it was Isaiah Joe.
Yeah, somebody other than Wiggins started the second half. And then the second game, Joe started the first half, Wiggins started the second half. So again, just keep in mind that's all variable. But the minutes going to be there for SGA, Giddey, Jalen Williams without the Y. Then if you want to gamble on a $3,900 Isaiah Joe or a $4,500 Kenrich Williams, go for it.
All righty. You know what we should also go for? We should go for some ways to tell the people how to get some free Stokastic premium content. Step 1, download that Stokastic avatar by going to stokastic.com/avatar. Step 2, upload that on your favorite DFS site of choice. Step 3, place top 3 in any contest with at least 5,000 entries. No ties. Got to finish first, second, or third. 3-way tie for first. You win. 25-way tie for first. Send in the screenshot, but you're not going to get 30 days of Stokastic because you got to be a top 3 finish. You can tweet those over to Stokastic HOF. Another way you can get some easy 2 months free, head on over there to BetMGM, where when you sign up, you can use either use the promo code Platinum Sub, or B, be logged into your Stokastic account. You don't have to have an active Stokastic membership. Click on a BetMGM button, aka a little BetMGM logo on anywhere on Stokastic.com. That will tag you with our URL, send you over to BetMGM, create your account, put in at least $10, make a $10 wager. When that settles, up pops a promo code for 2 months of Stokastic Premium. You don't grab that promo code, not a problem, because over at BetMGM, you have a little inbox on the site where they will save that for you in your messages. That is an easy way to do it. You can also get bet insurance on your first bet up to $1,000. If you do not win, you will receive a series of credit wagers that you can use over the next week. So that is sort of your insurance on that first bet. You can go up to $1,000, but you still get that bet insurance on any first bet, $10 or more. And then we always do like to say this, legal age for gambling in most states is 21. And if you or someone else has a gambling problem, please have them call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Adam, back to you here. Let's move on to, how about a little Miami Heat in Milwaukee taking on the Bucks. No Kyle Lowry tonight. Highly unlikely that Victor Oladipo plays. Neither Robinson is available. You've got Oladipo dealing with an ankle injury. He's doubtfully missed the last game. You've got, on the questionable side of things, Vincent. He's also dealing with a sore ankle. The next game for Miami is not until Wednesday. On the Milwaukee side, they are without Marshawn Beauchamp, and they are also going to be without Bobby Portis. Yet again, Giannis still dealing with a sore knee, but everybody else should be good to go there. We have a 221 projected point total here. The Heat are 5.5-point underdogs. What are you liking from this game, which should be a fun one to watch, but do you want any DFS stuff from this game?
I mean, I don't know how you don't. For an organization that prides themselves on how well-conditioned and their players are and how good their training program is, it sure seems like we're talking about the Heat having 8 active bodies a lot this season, and it's trending that way again. I think they have 9 if Vincent's in. Adebayo, Butler, Hero, Martin, Vincent, Strus, Highsmith, Dedmon, Haslam would be 9 if they do not recall Jamal Cain, who's in the G League right now. So if Vincent, if they keep Cain in the G League and Vincent does not play, they have 8 bodies. If that, as far as I can tell, if Vincent does play, they have 9. So once again, just play the Heat. Right now we have 38% ownership coming into Gabe Vincent at 3,500. He needs to play a lot of minutes with no Oladipo and no Lowry. Strus, 3,800, pulling 20%. That should probably be higher with shooting guard, small forward eligibility. Given the alternatives, I don't know how he's playing less than mid-30s. Tyler Hero at 7K, Butler at 7,400. They both look really good, should play a ton. Lowry being out doesn't really change their rates too much. You can get a little bit more in the way of assists, but it's not like Kyle Lowry is a high usage guy anyway, but they're just both cheap for, 36, 37 minutes anyway. Hero had a good game last time out in 40 minutes. Butler was wildly disappointing in 33.5, but Going right back to them here. Adebayo, 8K at center, 26% owned. That one's kind of weird to me. Like, I understand why he's popular and he should be. He's going to play a lot of minutes and all of that. But it's not like Lowry being out is a massive bump for him with Butler and Hero in. He is still center only on DraftKings. He was already playing a lot of minutes, and it's not like he's helping them with the, wing and backcourt minutes that are available. So, 36 minutes or so from Bam Adebayo is going to make him look good at 8K for sure. But it's just kind of interesting to me that like he's getting more ownership than say Strus or Hero. But Vincent, Bam, Strus, Hero, Butler all look good. Caleb Martin's up to 4,500. He should play a lot of minutes here, probably. Only played 24 last game, coming off of that massive game 2 games ago. But given how shorthanded they are, it's likely you're getting at least 30 or so from him. So as a contrarian play, I think he's fine. But from a value standpoint, I'd rather get the Strus for 700 less. Haywood Highsmith at 3K probably soaks up a bunch of minutes, but probably not enough for me to really want to get there. And then, you have Haslam and Dedmon, but they're just going to be the backup centers. So that's the other thing with Miami. You're saying they have 8 or 9 guys active. 2 of them are Dwayne Dedmon and Udonis Haslam, who are basically one person. And that one person is just playing 12 minutes. So it's a really, really, really thin Miami squad.
I now have to see when the last time Udonis Haslam played was. Do you happen to have that up?
Last game.
Oh, was it the last game?
Yeah, he was the backup center last game, played 10.5 minutes ahead of Dedmon.
Let's see. So on the season, he has played, 6 games? That was the first time he had seen action since December 15th. Oh, very nice.
Yeah, but like the thing is, like, those guys aren't playing, none of those guys are playing the 4. So of your 8 or 9 active bodies, 3 of them are playing center and only center. Bam Adebayo is playing like 36 of the 48 minutes. So 2 of your 8 bodies or 9 bodies are playing a combined 12 minutes.
All right. Oh, this should be a fun one. So it's going to be on Miami Heat, Dallas Mavericks kind of night, it sounds like, in the DFS world here. On the other side, you have Giannis Antetokounmpo, who is simply amazing. What else do we have branching out from that? You have a semi-efficient Chris Middleton. I wouldn't want to count on that, but it looks like he has a soft cap of minutes in the low 20s. What are you reading here from the Bucks without Portis, without Beauchamp?
Keep an eye on the starting lineup. Middleton played 20 minutes off the bench again last game. It's got to be sooner rather than later that they move him into the starting lineup and play him like 24, 25 minutes. And at 5,100, that would make him somewhat appealing. Granted, if he's in the starting lineup, he is playing more minutes, a higher percentage of his minutes alongside Giannis. Whereas right now, part of the reason that his usage has been so high since his return is that the bulk of his minutes are when Giannis is on the bench. But at 5,100, you're just getting to that price tag where you kind of look at it every slate and it's just like, man, if this is the game that they give Middleton 4 or 5 more minutes, I'm going to wish I had him at no ownership. But, I think if he comes off the bench, expecting around 20 to 22 minutes makes sense. If he starts, I'd expect like 24-ish. It still wouldn't make him great, but it would make him look, a little bit better. Holiday is just always a decent tournament option. 8,100 is reasonable. But the only real priority here is Giannis. We're going to have more than enough value on this slate, it appears. Typically, we do on Saturdays. Like normally, we have 1 or 2 teams that are resting by the time we're doing this show. And then by the time the slate locks, we have like 1 or 2 more teams that are resting. So we should have plenty of value to get to Giannis. 11-9, no real issues there. As far as, pay up options on the slate, you have Jokic, but obviously you don't have Luka, so not quite as difficult to get to Giannis as it normally is. Certainly think he looks very good.
All righty, we got 2 games to go. I want to remind you of yet another way to get some Stokastic premium content. You can go over to PrizePicks. If you do not have an account yet, use the promo code Stokastic, and you will get 30 days of Stokastic premium content along with a $100 deposit match on that first deposit. These are daily prop-based contests, no sharks, no old optimizers, no mass multi-entries. It is you against the PrizePicks lines. These are dynamic. They do move. Essentially, the main rules are you have to pick players from 2 teams. So if you want to play, let's say we're doing the Super Bowl, you got to pick players from both sides, but you can do same game parlays there. The other rule is you cannot pick a player more than once unless they are part of a combination prop, but they don't do too many of those outside of football touchdowns and, of course, home runs. Baseball right around the corner. A lot of fun there, but they just are chock full of different sports. Right now, they have Props up for NBA, NFL, NFL first half, NBA first half, college basketball, soccer, Australian basketball, CSGO, PGA, tennis, MMA, Rocket League, League of Legends, NFL season-long wagers. That means you can pick, it's a nice little look if you want to go like Patrick Mahomes for next season. Does he get more than 4,800 yards? That is a question. Burrow's up there as well. So you can play kind of the long game. No, they also have Call of Duty as well. So all sorts of stuff there on PrizePicks. Again, variety of ways to play your contest. You can pick power plays, meaning you have to get everything right for a higher payout, or you can pick some of the flex plays. Usually once you get up to 5 cards, it's an automatic combination of a power play. Flex play, same with 6, but go 6 for 6, get 25x, 5 for 5, get 10x, 4 for 4. No safety net there, but you still get 10x. I like to play a lot of 2s and 3s just because I like making money, and it's fun to see my account balance go up over there on PrizePicks. Again, come in on our link and you get a deposit match up to $100 on your first deposit. That's a great way to double up. Put in $100. They'll give you 100. That money comes out of your account first. Win all the way around. 2 to go here, Adam. We sort of hinted at it a little bit. Dallas, a lot of question marks here. Well, a couple question marks, but there is no doubt that Davis Bertans is out. Luka Doncic is out. Maxi Kleber out probably through the All-Star break, and Christian Wood probably out potentially till the All-Star break. He's still dealing with that thumb issue. We have Spencer Dinwiddie, who normally would be a phenomenal play. He's dealing with a sore knee. We have a chance that that Coach Jason Kidd just says, yeah, we're going to take the loss here in Golden State. He doesn't play all of his important players, of which he's down to 1. How are you feeling about the Mavs tonight? Because they are going to be the value play du jour.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if Dinwiddie plays. I'm not, I don't say that with a ton of confidence. It just seems like it would be weird given that, they're already basically punting this game because of injuries. But then the Q tag on Dinwiddie just came out of nowhere and was listed as injury management, which I was unaware he had an injury being managed. But that kind of just seemed like a red flag. But at the same time, I don't know why they didn't just rule him out. So, for now, assuming he plays, he's going to look really good. He's projected for 65% ownership, 50% chance of being optimal at 7,100 without Luka or Wood on the floor this season. 247 minutes for Dinwiddie, 1.3 DraftKings points per minute, nearly a 35% usage rate, 44.5% assist percentage. He's fantastic. And it's just mind blowing to me how he's an absolute zero when those guys are on the floor. And then he's that good when they're not. But he is, and he's going to look great if he plays. If he doesn't play, you just get a bunch of cheap guys that suck, but are just going to have to do everything. Like you might only get 70 or 80 points scored from Dallas, but they're going to have cheap guys doing it. And so, you're going to get Tim Hardaway looking better without Doncic or Wood on the floor, 0.83 DraftKings points per minute in a relatively small sample for Hardaway this year. But if you take Dinwiddie off, you should see him doing even more, or at least getting more opportunities. Whether he makes his shots or not is, a different question. But he's only played 19 minutes without any of Luka, Wood, or Dinwiddie on the floor. He does have a 30.7% usage rate in those 44 possessions. Not a meaningful sample at all, but it did at least go the direction you expect it to. Josh Green should play a lot one way or the other. He'll certainly look better if Dinwiddie is out. Finney Smith, same thing. Good play either way. Gonna need to take on a bigger role if Dinwiddie is out. Jaden Hardy at 3K flat, I would think, is a big beneficiary if Dinwiddie is out. They have no ball handling on this team really without Luka or Dinwiddie. So I'd expect Jaden Hardy to step into a big role. He's 3K. He would look good. If he's starting, he's clearly a top value option. So if Dinwiddie is in, I think Dinwiddie, Hardaway, Green, Powell, Finney Smith all look good. Reggie Bullock at 3,400 is bad, but still plays enough minutes to look like a decent value. But I don't really see anything other than those 6. If Dinwiddie is out, Hardaway, Green, Powell, Finney Smith, Bullock, add Jaden Hardy, all start to, look even better.
What are your Jaden Hardy expectations, assuming Dinwiddie out, compared to Mitchell / Deshaun Nix? Is he kind of like a 17 to 22 fantasy point guy at the minimum?
Well, he's not playing with Domantas Sabonis or Alperen Şengün's the big difference. Overall this year, 202 minutes played for Hardy, 0.93 DraftKings points per minute, 25% usage rate. Like he's not Nix or Mitchell.
Adam, once again with the analysis here. We go on gut feel. We go on narratives. Adam, come on. What is this? The DFS strategy show? We're going to teach people how to play for real here. Come on. Anything else from this game? Are you ready to cap her off here?
No, I mean, play a lot of Dallas. Just a matter of which Dallas guys you're playing.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I guess Golden State. I guess blowout potential. It must be mentioned at this point. Draymond Green could be another game for him to potentially sit out. What do you think from the Golden State side, assuming Thompson, Curry, and Draymond are playing?
Yeah, so we have Q tags on Draymond and Thompson. Assuming they play, I don't really love anything from Golden State. Steph at 10-1 clearly gives you a very, very high ceiling. Clay, shooting guard, small forward at 6,900 is 0.9% ownership. That's like directly in line with his optimal lineup percentage. Wiggins at 6K looks okay, but there's just nothing that stands out to me if those guys are all in. If you take out Clay, you take out Draymond, specifically if you take out Clay, Curry's going to look better. Jordan Poole's going to look better at 6,800 because the difference is that when Curry and Thompson are in, Jordan Poole's playing all of his minutes with at least Clay on the floor, if not both of them. And when both Curry and Clay are on the floor, you only have about an 18.5% usage rate for Jordan Poole this year. When it's Curry without Clay, Poole's usage rate jumps even, just playing alongside Curry, but then you're going to get him out there when Curry's not out there. So, and you get more playing time. So if Clay is out, Poole looks good. If Clay is in, I'm not interested in Poole. If Clay is out, Curry looks better. If Clay is in, I'm interested in Curry, but more of like a secondary option. If Draymond is out and Kuminga starts at 3,900, go right back to him. Another tricky team to talk about, but yeah, if they're fully healthy, it's just, the normal, sure, take some shots at Curry, Thompson, Wiggins, Draymond. But if you start getting guys ruled out, there are potential beneficiaries here.
All right, final game of the night. Atlanta Hawks in Denver taking on the Nuggets. This is a 3-4 for Atlanta. They seemingly came out of last night's game healthy, so we don't have too much to worry about, at least until we see an injury report. They beat Utah 115-108. You've got on the Denver side, you've got Jokic questionable with a sore hamstring. You've got Aaron Gordon who's dealing with an ankle issue. He missed the last game. And then Denver does play again tomorrow in Minnesota. Take us through the Atlanta side, Adam.
So assuming that they have the same guys playing today that they did yesterday, nothing really that stands out here. 9,300 on Trae Young is certainly a good price tag, 10% ownership coming in, no issue with that. So not like a true priority, but certainly somebody you can get to. Should play 35, 36 minutes. The type of upside that he offers. DeJounte Murray at 8,300, pulling 6%. Capella pulling 4% at 6,100. Just secondary tournament options. Capella played 26 minutes last game yesterday. Okongwu played 22. Typically, you're getting somewhere in that 26 to 28 minute range from Capella, with the rest going to Okongwu. He's always capable of giving you a big game at 6,100 and limited ownership, but it's just difficult to count on his minutes because Okongwu is a competent center that they're looking to get minutes for. So it's just tough to get those games where Capella goes and plays 32 or 33 minutes because by definition, it means Okongwu is only playing, 15 or 16. So that's the hard part on Capella. John Collins at 5,700 had been playing more minutes sometimes, but only played 28 yesterday. I think, expecting around 30 to 31 makes sense, which just makes him look very mediocre. I think the backcourt, Young, Murray, Capella are the guys that I'm most likely to get to here, assuming that nobody's resting.
All righty. That brings us over to Denver here. It does seem like a reasonable spot to have Aaron Gordon out for another game. He'd been kind of banged up for a little while there. Jokic, of course, is the key play. This is the final game of the night. Jokic, again, the two-time reigning NBA MVP, has been absolutely awesome. He has triple doubles in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of his last 10 games. He has triple doubles. Adam, there's really not much else to say about him, except this game is, half hour after all of the other games. If you're riding with Jokic, how do you want to position your lineups, assuming there is some uncertainty with his playing time? How do you want to not paint yourself into a corner by dropping down to Clint Capella and leaving $3,000 on the table?
Yeah, I mean, typically he's going to end up at your utility spot on DraftKings. On FanDuel, it becomes a much bigger issue. The nice thing is that you do have 4 games, 3 games starting at 8, 1 at 8:30. So there's a good chance that we have Jokic news, even if we don't have it by the 7 o'clock lock, that we at least have it by the time the bulk of the games start and you'll be able to swap around. But I mean, if we don't have any news, I think the way I'd play it is just to play Jokic. Like if we don't have anything, if we don't have, if we start getting, rumors that like he's likely to sit or whatever, it's different. But
Right.
if we just don't get anything and it's just like Jokic is questionable, I would just project him in and hope he plays and deal with it if he doesn't, because he's obviously just such a really good play if he does play. And if he's questionable, you'll have some percentage of people shying away from him, which is nice if you get him ruled in. But without any other news, I just assume he's going to play. And he looks really good because this is actually not the best center slate either. So, no Luka on this slate makes it a little bit easier to get to him. But then also, just talking about the center position, like there are some good plays. Ayton's good, and getting ownership. But like most of the center plays we talked about, Bam's getting ownership. And I guess this is actually why he's getting 26%, which I was sort of surprised about when we talked about that game. There just really weren't a lot of centers today that was just like, oh yeah, I really like this guy. So I think it just makes it a little bit easier to get to Jokic in that regard too. Plus, we know we're going to have plenty of guard and wing value thanks to Miami and Dallas. So it just seems like a really, really easy spot to get to Jokic. He's only pulling 19% ownership, 27% chance of being optimal right now. I love getting to Jokic. I like getting to Jamal Murray here. We saw Denver go back to staggering him and Jokic last game after a 1-game break from doing that. That's what I assume that they do more often than not going forward. That second unit is terrible. They have to do something to make it better. They've been letting Jamal Murray run it and really take over, and that's big for his fantasy production. So only 8% ownership coming into him makes him look good. The rest of the team, Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter Jr., sure, but you're not excited about any of that. If Gordon sits and they go to Chancellor starting again, he's only 3,300. You can't expect the same game that we got from him last time out, where I think he scored like 32 or 34 DraftKings points or something like that. But he would, at the very least, be another good point per dollar value. Not that we're short on any of those today. Bruce Brown looks a bit better if Gordon is out as well. Played 31 minutes last game. So they would both look a little bit better. But Jokic, priority no matter what, as long as he's playing. Jamal Murray, the second option here, no matter what. And if Jokic is out, Murray obviously looks even better.
All right. You've got a little $5 super chat there from Hippopotamus. He says, hit that like button. Hang in there, Adam. You've almost made it. The finish line is in sight here. We're up to 600 concurrent. That's pretty cool. Give us a few more likes on the way out. We should be able to get up to 200. That would be fun, especially on a very cold, a very chilly Saturday morning here. We do have a show coming up at 1 o'clock for MMA. And then, of course, at 6 o'clock, you're going to get the NBA live before lock with a bonus 30 minutes. Both those shows brought to you by PrizePicks. We also have free PrizePicks projections here for the NBA. I'm going to drop that link into chat here. We also have, I want to call out BetPro. It's the newest tool premium feature that we have here at Stokastic. That usually gets going around 12:30. They do a lot of work behind the scenes there to figure out what bets we're going to be recommending. But the nice thing over there on BetPro is it calls out, it tells you, how much you should wager on these. It gives you expected value. It's an easy way to look at the data across multiple sports books. There's also PrizePicks and NHA information in there as well, but it's a nice one-stop shop to kind of check everything out there. That right now is $15.99 per week, or $59.99 per month. That price is going to go up. I want to mention that since we've been tracking BetPro from the inception, which includes the beta testing behind the scenes here, it's got about a 2% ROI. While that doesn't seem overly exciting, that's 2% of everything wagered. So if you put $100 on all of the different recommended positive bets, you would have just over $2,700 profit. Remember, betting a little bit different than DFS, right? You don't really have the GPPs unless you're creating some ungodly multiple leg parlay, which is fun, but does not hit all that often. So you want to check out BetPro over there. A lot of good stuff about that. You'll hear more about that tonight on the NBA Live Before Lock show with Greg. And I think it's Matt Lamarca on there tonight, but we can check that out as well. Final thoughts here, Adam, before we slide on out of here on a Saturday.
Keep an eye out for injury news. We're obviously waiting on a lot that we know about. It's also a Saturday, which means there's probably going to be some that we don't know about. If you're playing a slate or a showdown with the Lakers, just a heads up, Russell Westbrook is now questionable as well.
All righty. Well, with that, we're going to get on. Oh, Neil Orfield is with Greg. That's right. You got to get Neil now that there's not much NFL. He's being press ganged into some NBA content here, so that should be a lot of fun. So tune in, check that out. Of course, hit the subscribe button here and know when we go live with all sorts of Stokastic content. We also have the Odds Shopper YouTube channel. There's going to be 5 videos on demand there today, and another 2 coming up here on the Stokastic YouTube channel. With that, you can follow Adam on Twitter at ShipMyMoneyDFS. I'm at EMac DFS, and of course, it is Stokastic_COM. With that, gamers, good luck.